The movie kicks off by introducing us to a young guy named Sutter. At his school, he's got a bit of a reputation as a troublemaker who doesn't really care about his studies. Now, Sutter's got a girlfriend, Cassidy, who happens to be the prettiest girl in the whole school. One day, Sutter's hanging out with his buddy when two ladies come over to say hi. Sutter figures he might try to set his friend up with one of these ladies since his friend's still single. So, they all head down to the lake. Sutter tells his friend to take a boat ride with one of the ladies while he waits in the car. He sits there for hours, waiting. But then, out of the blue, Cassidy shows up. She'd managed to track him down by calling his friend, who was out on the boat. When Cassidy sees Sutter sitting alone in the car with another girl, she's not too happy about it. She gets really upset and even talks about breaking up right then and there. Thankfully, the next day, Sutter explains everything that happened, and Cassidy understands. Their relationship gets back on track, and their relationship improves. A few months went by, and even though Sutter and Cassidy had been together for quite a while, their relationship was pretty messed up. They had their fair share of issues. Then, at this party, Sutter accidentally spots Cassidy hanging out with his famous school sports athlete, Marcus. And she didn't seem to care that Sutter caught her. She chose to be with Marcus instead of Sutter. So the next day, Sutter decides to hit up a bar, tries to have some fun, flirts with some girls, and ends up getting pretty drunk. The next morning, Sutter wakes up in someone's yard, of all places. Luckily, his school friend Amy happens to pass by and takes pity on him. She gives him a ride home. While they're driving, Amy tells Sutter that she's helping deliver newspapers, which is actually her mom's job. But since her mom fell asleep, Amy stepped in to help. Sutter starts to notice that Amy is really sweet and innocent. The next day, Sutter gets reprimanded by his math teacher for his poor math exam. He hadn't done his homework either, and the teacher threatens that if he doesn't shape up in the next exam, he won't graduate. Sutter's just sitting there, not knowing what to say. So he heads to the cafeteria to have lunch with Amy. Over lunch, he reveals about the math teacher's threat. Amy gives him a reassuring smile and tells him that math is a piece of cake, as long as he's willing to learn. As they were chatting, Amy's friend shows up and asks them to join a tutoring session. Before they split up, Sutter asks Amy for her phone number, so he asks her for some math help. After school, Sutter usually works part-time at a clothing store near his place. But the next morning, he decides to visit by Amy's house so they can study math together. In Amy's room, she mentions how much she's into comics, and her walls are covered in posters. When Sutter finds out she's also an anime fan, he gets even more intrigued. When he gets home, he even goes and buys the same comic book as Amy and starts reading it. While he's enjoying the story, Cassidy messages him, inviting him to a party one of their school friends is throwing the next afternoon. Sutter replied that he would definitely attend. So on party day, Sutter shows up with Amy. Cassidy looks a bit jealous, but she keeps it to herself. Sutter then asks Amy if she wants to take a walk. Along the way, he opens up about a childhood memory when his dad left home without a clear reason. His mom never wanted to talk about it whenever he asked. Hearing this, Amy feels a connection because her dad left home in the past, too, and ever since, her mom has been protective. Even though Amy got a scholarship to a fancy university in Philadelphia, her mom refused because it was too far from home. Sutter then suggested to Amy that sometimes she's need to be brave and make her own life choices. Amy agreed with a smile and said she tried. A few days later, Sutter went over to Cassidy's place, and they reminisced about all the great times they had when they were dating. Sutter told Cassidy he still had feelings for her, but Cassidy didn't react the way he hoped. She was frustrated because for her, life wasn't just about having a good time, it was also about planning for the future. That's why she broke up with Sutter. Sutter's got his pride as a guy, and he said sorry for not being the perfect man Cassidy wanted. But he didn't regret the breakup. After the party, it seemed like Sutter was pulling away from Amy day by day. Amy's friend confronted him, saying he was the reason Amy had turned sad when she used to be a happy girl. Sadly, Sutter didn't really care and left her immediately. As Sutter walked, he couldn't stop thinking about what Amy's friend had told him. Worried, he headed over to Amy's place. When he got there, he quickly apologized for pulling away from her and invited her to join his family for dinner that evening. During dinner, Sutter's sister started talking about how she met her husband for the first time. But Sutter made a sarcastic comment, saying she shouldn't be too happy because divorce rates in the United States are really high. He even pointed out their parents' divorce as an example. The mood got pretty awkward right away. Luckily, Amy stepped in and lightened things up. She said she wasn't afraid, despite the high divorce rate. She believed her future marriage would be a happy one. Her husband would be a great horse breeder, while she'd work in an office. They might have disagreements, but that's what would make married life exciting. Everyone smiled happily after hearing that. After dinner, Sutter took Amy to the park. It was there that he found the courage to express his feelings. Amy had liked him from the beginning, and they officially became a couple. A few days later, news of Sutter and Amy's relationship spread throughout the school. Sutter's friends were surprised that after breaking up with someone as popular as Cassidy, he was now dating Amy, who was just an ordinary girl. Sutter explained that he liked Amy because she made him feel comfortable, and she had a unique quality that no other woman had. When it was time for the school dance, Sutter showed up with Amy. Even though he saw Cassidy dancing with Marcus, he didn't feel jealous at all. He felt like he had found someone even better. The next day, Amy came back from school with a big smile on her face. She told Sutter that she had followed his advice to be brave and convinced her mom to let her accept a scholarship to study in Philadelphia. In return, she encouraged Sutter to have the courage to ask his mom about his dad's whereabouts. At first, Sutter was hesitant, but Amy kept telling him it would be okay. So he gave it a try and went to his mom's workplace. As expected, no matter how much he pleaded and tried to persuade his mom, she refused to reveal where his dad was. Sutter didn't give up. This time, he talked to his sister because he couldn't stand seeing him plead like that. His sister melted and gave him their dad's address. During a long school break, Sutter took Amy with him to visit his dad. As they got closer to their destination, Sutter's face lit up with happiness. When he finally saw his dad, whom he had missed for so long, Sutter couldn't contain his joy and hugged him right away. The three of them went to a bar, and Sutter was overjoyed. He never expected that after decades of separation, they would be reunited. But his expression changed when he heard his dad's story. Sutter's father revealed that he had left their family for another woman. Sutter was stunned. The man he once admired now seemed despicable. His dad asked Sutter and Amy to wait in the parking lot, promising to join them later. Sutter had no choice but to wait. Hours passed, and his father never showed up. Frustrated, Sutter went back into the bar, only to see his dad drunk and laughing with his friends. Disappointed and hurt, Sutter left. On their way home, Sutter remained silent, holding back his anger. Amy tried to console him, but he responded angrily, thinking she only pitied him. Amy insisted that her love was genuine and that she wanted to be with him through thick and thin. They argued, and a car suddenly appeared in front of them. Luckily, they survived the incident, but Sutter's anger didn't subside. He didn't want Amy to see him in his lowest moments, so he told her to get out, needing some time alone. However, when she got out, she was hit by a car. Thankfully, Amy survived with a broken arm. Days passed and Sutter regretted how he had treated Amy. One day, he mustered the courage to visit her at her home after avoiding her for a week. Amy was thrilled to see him. Graduation day arrived, and Sutter managed to pass even though his grade was just enough. Cassidy approached and told Sutter that she would be going to college in California with Marcus. Before parting ways, she mentioned that Sutter was her most beautiful ex-boyfriend. The next morning, Sutter got a call from his manager at work. Due to low sales, they had to let him go to cut costs. Despite all the bad things happening, Sutter tried to hold back his emotions. It felt like life was testing his maturity. In the evening at the bus stop, Sutter watched Amy from afar. They were supposed to meet one last time before she left for Philadelphia. However, Sutter decided to let Amy go alone. On his way home, he thought about his youth and felt like he wasn't a good guy for Amy, like he was bringing her down. When he got home, Sutter accidentally bumped into a mailbox, and all his suppressed feelings came pouring out. He was angry, sad, and disappointed, and he let it all out. Seeing her son in distress, his mother hugged him and reassured him that no matter how tough things got, she would always love and support him. A few days later, Sutter was spotted taking an entrance exam for the University of Philadelphia. In the exam, he had to write an essay about his youth. Sutter started writing, recalling a youth filled with fear of failing, getting let down, hurting and getting hurt by others, and feeling lost. He used to blame everything and everyone, but now he understood that most of life's problems come from within ourselves. The moral lesson from the story is, don't let your love life be as confusing as Sutter's math problems. And always remember, when life hits you hard, make sure it's not with a mailbox.